I've been asked by some of my listeners why we're teaching so much the Old Testament and not much more from the New. And I think I want to take this text of Genesis 22 as an example to show you how much the New Testament is rooted in the Old Testament, in what the Jewish people calls the Tanah, the Tora, the prophets, and the writings. So first of all, we're doing something very, very, how shall I say that, New Testament-like. When Yeshua, when Jesus sent us his disciples, or when the Apostle Paul tried to prove something, he did prove it from Scriptures. And Scriptures is what we call the Old Testament. Or if the believers in Berea, for example, if they checked day by day exactly how, if they searched the Scriptures to check what Paul taught them, they were looking into the Old Testament. So we're doing something fundamentally New Testament-like if we're learning the Tanakh, the Torah, the prophets, and the writings. I talked several times about Abraham as the father of our faith, and whether I would go now in Paul's letter to Romans or in the letter to Hebrews, they both talk about how much is Abraham rooted there and how much he's a model for us. Or if we look at the time, at the method the New Testament uses. Look here, for example, we have the angel crying out, "Do not stretch out the hand against the boy." Now the angel didn't have a problem with Father Abraham making this to his son. He had a problem with it that there was a knife in the hand and that Abraham was about to kill Isaac. So he said, "Do not stretch out the hand." He meant do not kill him. And we have that a lot in the New Testament. If you just think about it, if it tells us not to look at a woman or not to go to a woman, it means to have sexual relations with her. Or if we hear that somebody touched somebody, then it means not just to touch him nicely, but it means to beat him, to hit him, to strike him. Or if we talk about that somebody hit somebody else, he killed him. Or if somebody stretched out a hand, he was violent or acquired somebody. So the first movement actually determines the whole thing. And we have exactly that in the teaching of Jesus. If we look at Matthew 5, for example, if Jesus wants to tell us that we should not murder our brother, then he says, "Do not be angry at your brother. Do not call him a fool." It's the first step towards murder. Or if he expounds on the commandment to not commit adultery, he says, "Do not even look at a woman." Or if he says, "You shall not take perjury," he says, "You should not swear at all. Your speech shall be yes, yes, no, no. And everything beyond is from evil." So we have this kind of thinking here in the Tanakh already. It started with Abraham. Or if I would go, and I want to challenge you to go deeper into the whole question of how much the sacrifice of Isaac foreshadows the sacrifice of Jesus, I just want to show you here that it's in the text. It's not a Christian kind of imagination. And I will only quote Orthodox rabbis when they expound, for example, that Abraham took the wood of the offering of ascension and put it on Isaac his son. There is medieval rabbis, so they experienced the 1,000 years of Christianity. They still say it's like a convict bearing or wearing his own cross. So Isaac carried the wood. And I have one rabbi here from the beginning of the 20th century. He was in Germany, a rabbi in Berlin. He actually quotes or he talks about this passage, and he uses words which you might know as Christians. Rabbi Jacob says, Avraam so loved his God that he gave his only begotten son so that all who follow him may know. And he goes on. So this whole story is so much bound up in what we would call New Testament thinking. I have to bring another example. When Abraham lifted up his eyes and he saw the ram, he took it then and offered it. Rashi, a German rabbi, German-French rabbi, from about 1,000 years ago, he says that this ram had been there since the sixth day of creation. Now, how does he get this thought? You might say, oh, he's crazy, but just think about what Revelations tells us, that the lamb was slain before the foundation of the world. So we don't need the New Testament to see all these things. We just take the Old Testament text and rabbinic explanation, and I can go on here talking about the sacrifice that was made instead of the Son. Actually, the rabbis say that there was an eternal sacrifice established by Abraham on Mount Moriah, and that all of Isaac's children, they are meant to form this eternal sacrifice of their father. Do you hear how we could hear, in this case, Romans 12, where it says, put up your own bodies as a living sacrifice to the Lord? And I want to challenge you to go on. The binding of Isaac is the text that talks about the shofar, the ram's horn, and maybe I want to just bring you what my children told me when they came home and I asked them, what do you think, what you hear with the ram's horn? Then one told me about an Orthodox Jew he met that says that if you hear the ram's horn, and this is Orthodox Jewish thinking, then everybody has to see himself as they were lying on the altar and know that God gave the lamb in his place. Or I love the most what my daughter once brought from kindergarten, when she said, if you hear the shofar, then you know it's supposed to wake up Messiah. So again, we have all this line stretching from Abraham through Isaac and what they did here on Mount Moriah to Messiah, whom we think is Yeshua, is Jesus.